just a moment. Okay, guys, girls, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Joinrs. Welcome to a new online experience. I'm Giuseppe. I'm part of marketing team, and today I just want to present the speakers, the main speakers from Nadara's team. We have Joe Clarkson, we have Cristina Fiordelisi, and Anna Frangi. Hi, speakers. How are you? Are you ready?
Great,
Yes.
thanks. Yes, we're ready.
Yes, all good.
Come on. Perfect, and thank you for being here. Thank you, because we are ready to talk about how Nadara built their new brand identity. So this is a we called it lessons for inspiring communicators. Sorry, and we will see together the strategic journey that redefines a company brand identity, but also the behind-the-scenes process of Nadara's transformative rebranding. So, guys, take the most from this experience. You will have also the possibility to talk with Joe, with Christina, and Anna. Enter your doubts, your curiosity, and your questions in the chat below. But you have also the possibility to open your microphones, and so start talking with us. Just a suggestion: if you want, you can also open your cameras, and because for us it's easier to talk with you if we see your eyes and not only your name and your surname. But feel free, obviously, don't be shy. Thank you, Silvia. Thank you for being with us, also with your with your face. Okay, we are ready. So, Nadara's team, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Giuseppe. So good morning, everyone, first of all, and thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure having this opportunity. So we are going to start with a really short introduction from our side, and then we'll give you a quick overview of Nadara, and eventually we'll cover the heart of the session with the contribution of Joe Clarkson. I apologize in advance if you're going to hear some background noise. Unfortunately, renovation work started this morning, so I hope you will hear me clearly. So maybe I can start with my own introduction, and then I lend it over to my colleagues. So I'm Cristina, and I've been working for Nadara for 3 years now. I'm an HR generalist, so this means I have to deal with many different HR topics on a daily basis, so really a challenge. So now I'll lend it over to Anna and Joe.
Thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. Nice being here, and thanks for joining. My name is Anna. I work with Cristina in the people development and talent acquisition team within our global HR department. Well, we are both based in Milan, and I joined the company soon is going to be 4 years, and my role is a senior talent acquisition and employer branding specialist. So I deal, but also with our colleagues and with other team members, with all the recruitment for our different business lines and employer branding events like this one, and of course career days. Joe, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll give you a proper introduction to my background during the presentation, but I'm Joe Clarkson. I am the head of communication and brand for Nadara, for our global brand. I'm based in Glasgow in Scotland, so you'll tell by the lack of Italian accent that I am the odd one out here, I think. And I've been with Nadara for about 2 years now. I'll hand back to Christine.
Okay, thank you. So I think we can start sharing the presentation. And then Anna is going to start, and then I have the word later on.
Perfect. We see your screen.
Just a moment, I had to open my microphone. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. Sorry, some technology issues. Okay, So, well, this is our purpose. Then, okay, Joe will drive you through all the rebranding phases we went through to become Nadara. Basically, well, Nadara is the combination of two companies in the field of renewable energy, so Renantis and Ventient Energy. So in July, we launched our new brand, and this is our, let's say, new and current purpose. So we work harmoniously with the power of nature and the communities around us to power lifetimes to come. And you can see below in the right part of the screen and also in my background, living energy is a little bit, let me say, our claim, our motto. I don't know how to translate in English, but so we are driven by living energy. What does it mean? We are really close with the communities we work with. So it is not just the business, okay, we go and build wind farms or solar plants, but we really like to engage, as you can see here, supporting social, educational, cultural, and of course environmental initiatives that contribute to the development of these communities. And so here is also better explained. So with nature, with power, lifetime to come. And this is what, let's say, motivates and drives us every day in doing and performing our job. So we really are focused on sustainability. Then we will leave you like all the references also for our website or LinkedIn page. So it would be nice to, if you want to deep dive a little bit. So every year we publish a sustainability report. So you can see that we are very, very close to these topics. And of course, working in the area of the renewable and green energy, we'd like, of course, to leave a better future for the young and future generations. And as I mentioned, this being close with the communities is really something that maybe makes the difference also compared to our competitors. Of course, if you have questions, we can also take some time to explain you a little bit more of this part. And here you can see an overview of our new values. Chris, I pass over to you.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, our corporate culture, as you can see, is based on our 3 values, and later on we are going also to see the 4 behaviors. So let's start with the values: impact, care, and connection. So impact, what does that mean for us? We believe in the ability to deliver transformative results. So we strive to understand what is needed, and we assure that every action we take drives progress. Care. So we are caring and courageous. We step up for others, and we empower people to thrive. And last but not least, connection. So we connect with each other, we embrace an open-minded and collaborative approach, and we celebrate diversity as a way to unlock our potential. About our behaviors, so behaviors define the way we act on a daily basis as a company. As you can see, there are 4 of them. And we can start from explore the unknown with curiosity. So we choose to find possibilities in challenges and changes. So we are flexible, we are adaptable, and we are eager to embrace our differences to discover our potential. We know that it's not always possible to find the right beginning, but we are humble enough to team up and navigate the unknown together. Connect different perspectives with respect. So success, of course, is easily achieved if we are together, if we work together. And when diverse perspectives come together, problems are seen through a different lens. So this approach also allows us to generate synergies from our diversities. Make decisions with quality. So we tend to pause and reflect before acting, and we incorporate every day this value into our decision-making process. So what we do is ask ourselves, what is our goal, and is this the best approach to do this, or maybe we can do it differently? And finally, the 4th one is take action and deliver with courage. So by acting in a courageous way, we drive progress. So we inspire also others, encourage others to take action, and the actions we take bring to tangible results. So we want to contribute meaningfully to collective success. So that's our overview. Now I leave the floor to you, Jo.
Thank you. Okay, give me 1 second and I will load up the presentation. And Giuseppe, maybe you can let me know if there are any issues with presenter mode. Okay, can you see the right screen?
But in presenter mode.
It likes to keep me on my toes. Okay, this is better?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Good. Okay. I am Scottish and therefore I do talk really quickly. So if anyone needs me to slow down, please just raise your hand or add it into the chat and I can take it slow. So yes, thank you
Can
everyone.
use the reaction, Jo.
Yes,
Yeah.
slow reaction. Yes, so today I want to talk to you about how we at Nadara have built our new brand identity and talk to you about some of the lessons that we have learned along the way, because of course no process is perfect. But first, I know I have given you a brief introduction, but let me talk to you a little bit about my background. So I am head of communications and brand at Nadara. As I mentioned, I've been here for just over 2 years now, and they have been a fun-filled 2 years. I have loved every minute of it, and I have learned so much already. So, you know, you're never too experienced to learn, that's for sure. I began my career in university, so I completed a diploma in corporate communication. And then I followed that with a degree in PR and media. So you can see that my experience leans a bit more towards communication from the educational part. I spent 15 long years in renewable energy, and I know that I don't look old enough to have been working for 15 years in renewables, but here we are. Those 15 years have seen such a massive transformation in the industry. You know, when I first joined, it was very, very early and junior, and now we can see some real momentum being built globally in the renewable energy industry. And my experience really is very broad. It covers marketing, brand, communications. I've done some digital marketing, I've done some traditional marketing, a little bit of advertising, and a little bit on agency side. So I feel like I have come full circle to this point now where we can I can bring a lot of my experience to Nadara. So today, really, I want to talk to you about how we've built Nadara's new brand identity, and this is just really to set the scene. You know, what I'm going to talk to you about is a story of complete transformation. It's a story of a bit of creativity, but also of the lessons that we learned along the way. So let's dive into the good stuff. It's not always easy to decide to rebrand. So, you know, we have to start somewhere. We have to figure out why we want to do it and whether it is worth it. So before we dig into that, let me talk to you a bit about you know, what branding is, and I'm sure you all, you know, are aware, but it's really good to set the scene. So, you know, I'm sure we all recognize this lovely logo here. This is not something new that is a brand that we don't know. So most people think that this is a brand, what you can see in front of you. Nike is a great brand. It's a brand that I think we can all learn a lot from. There are so many case studies on creative campaigns, on really memorable taglines, on adverts that really resonate and connect with their audiences. But a brand is far, far more than just a name or a logo. So in fact, you know, the name is often the least important thing about a brand. For me, you know, a brand is about emotional and intellectual connection with audiences. It's something that has it has the power to build trust, to provoke feelings, and really to make change. And a brand should always reflect an organization's purpose, its values, and its future direction, its strategy. It should consider its proposition, you know, what is it there to do and what is it there to achieve in the marketplace for its stakeholders. So on the left here, you can see the elements that make up a brand's foundations. So these are the things that we've just talked about. And then on the right, you'll see what the creative expression is. And for me, the creative expression sits on top of the solid brand foundation. The name, the visual identity, the logo, and the brand personality. These are the creative expression that people tend to think about when they think of brands, but really they must sit on this solid brand foundation of values, purpose, behaviours, and proposition. But together, these two lovely circles or rings, these elements together make up a brand. So I want to look at what might trigger a rebrand, because there are many different things. So different companies, they rebrand for different reasons. There are some companies that rebrand for absolutely no reason at all, just because they feel like they want a fresh start, and that's okay. So for some, it's changes in market positioning, or their audience demographic has maybe changed. For others, maybe they have an outdated or an inconsistent brand identity. And then there's others who maybe are feeling the competitive pressure or industry evolution that mean that they can become outdated in their brand and their positioning. And finally, this is the most relevant one for Nadara, structural changes to a business, mergers and acquisitions, things like this can be a real trigger point for a rebrand. So on that note, let me share a bit more with you about what triggered our process this year. So this is an extremely simplified version of our journey to where we got to today, but this webinar is not 3 hours long, so I have had to condense it into some really simple milestones here. So in our case, you can see that Falck Renewables, which is one part of the company. I'm sure you are aware of the family name Falck in Italy. I know it's a famous family name there. Falck Renewables was established in Italy in 2002. I wasn't here at the time, but they operated over a long period of time, developing renewable energy projects until 2022, so 2 years ago. And in this year, Falck Renewables was sold by the Falck family to an infrastructure investment fund. They then decided, because of course they were no longer owned by Falck Renewables, that we should rebrand. And at that point, we rebranded to Renantis. And this is just around the same time that I joined the company. On the other side of things, there was another company called Ventient Energy. It was sort of created by this infrastructure investment fund. And it was born from a merger between two different renewable energy firms. And this fund that now, by this point, owned both Ventient Energy and Renantis, they decided that, in fact, these companies are extremely similar in many ways, and actually maybe they would be better together and stronger together. So Ventient Energy was a really strong operator of renewable energy plants with a large portfolio and lots of expertise in the operational side of things. Renantis was much stronger on the development side, so bringing projects to life from development to execution, and we had a really large pipeline. So of course the owners of both businesses decided, let's bring them together, combine them to create one of the largest independent power producers in Europe. So this brought us to 2024, the beginning of this year. We had become one company, but we didn't really know who we were anymore. It wasn't clear, we knew what the strategy was, we knew what we wanted to achieve. We had really bold ambition and aspiration for our business, but it wasn't clear who we are, who we were going to be, and how we would present ourselves to the world with these sort of ambitious goals in mind. So rebranding really, it can really give opportunities to align a company's identity for organizational goals, and it can be a really good opportunity to reset and build trust and engagement with these target audiences. And really for us, that was a real opportunity, and these were all benefits that we were really interested in tapping into. So I want to now take you into our rebrand story. So I'm going to dwell on the next slide for a little bit and give you a bit more information on how this all came to life. So we start on the left-hand side here with a catalyst for change. So it's really tempting just to get stuck into the creative elements and you know the more creative side of a rebrand. But before getting carried away with that, it's really important to understand our situation. So we knew that bringing two companies together, both of whom operate internationally, you know, they can have really different cultures. Doesn't matter how similar they are in business, the cultures can just be completely different, both from an international perspective, but just on a company level. So we spent 3 months designing a full culture assessment that really got to the heart of what makes both of our businesses great separately, and with the goal of bringing the best of both businesses together. And in the process, we wanted to iron out some of the issues that also exist on both sides. So you can see here, we spent 3 months doing a cultural assessment. And a cultural assessment is, for me, is essential during a merger. It really helped us to amplify the best of Renantis and Ventian today, as they were at the time, but also lay the cultural foundations for a new chapter in European renewables. So we spent 840 long hours actively listening to the people in our business. And it was really during this time that it became clear to us, and thankfully also to our leadership, you know, the size and scale of the combination and what that meant for people. This was a really bold move. So for us, a fresh and bold start was the only option. I think it was clear from this our employees would really struggle to get behind the Renantis or Ventiant brand if we chose one over the other. You know, this was not a takeover situation. It was a combination of two businesses. And, you know, for that reason, it was really, really clear to us what direction we wanted to take. And so in December last year, our board of directors agreed and decided to move forward with a full rebrand. So this was the point that the work for my team and I truly began. So when we came back after the Christmas break in January this year, it was full steam ahead. We had a lot to do, a lot. So at this point, we move into the strategy phase. And firstly, we embarked on a research campaign. So we took all of the insights that we had from the culture assessment, which was looking internally into our businesses. We assessed market trends, we consulted with a wide range of stakeholders, and we tested our insights along the way. We did some competitor benchmarking and some analysis in that area as well. And this allowed us in 3 very short months actually to complete the development of our new purpose, our new values, and our new behaviours. And this is what Christina and Anna showed you at the beginning of the presentation. So with all of these insights and research in mind, we assess a positioning that would fit with our brand aspirations, but would also differentiate ourselves from competitors. So for me, it was a really unique opportunity for us to create a distinct and really lasting impression in the minds of all of our stakeholders with a new and fresh brand positioning. And parallel to this work alongside, we also completed a project to define the company's new name. And I know that I mentioned that, you know, the name is actually the least important thing about a brand. But for us, it was also a really good opportunity to engage our colleagues internally and bring them on the journey with us. So a fun fact for you is that the name Nadara actually came from an internal competition that we ran with our employees to help us to come up with a new name. We had hundreds of options, hundreds of names. Some were suggested by employees, some were suggested by our brand partners, and you can imagine trying to define a name out of a long list of hundreds of random names was extremely difficult. But we went through a process, and the final name, Nadara, was selected thanks to a colleague in our sustainability team. So he now can wear a badge of honour that says, you know, I named our company, and he will take that with him for the rest of his career. So moving on to the design and messaging phase, with the foundations of our brand clear, we moved into the next phase of trying to translate the strategy into, a clear visual identity. Now, we explored several visual concepts, and really this is the fun part for me anyway. We explored several concepts that aligned with the brand strategy. Some were extremely bold and loud, and others leaned a bit more into nature, which ties very well with our purpose and our values. We considered the logo, the colors, the typography, the graphic language, and the photography style, building an entire visual picture of our brand with the choices that we made in mind since the beginning, since this culture assessment through the strategy and now into design and messaging. All of this started to just build a picture that you keep adding layers onto. And it means that when you're making these decisions, it almost you don't have to decide, because all of these decision making and layers along the way guide you towards the right path. And to complement the design elements, we also defined a really distinct brand personality and tone of voice to build a brand voice that really resonates with our stakeholders. Moving into the execution phase. Now, this is also the fun part. I love getting things done and being able to finally showcase things to people. This part was, all hands on deck. Everyone was involved. We got to do lots of really great, fun things during execution. And I'll show you a bit about that after I finalize this slide. But we defined a brand launch plan that covered everything from a launch event for our internal colleagues. It covered media announcement and PR and interview opportunities that were tied alongside our strategy refresh. We redeveloped our website and relaunched that. We defined a social media channel switchover and a social media organic campaign. We had to make sure that all touch points were available. So the day that we decide, today we are rebranding, we have to have corporate presentations, we have to have graphic design ready, we have to make sure that everyone has everything that they need in the new brand with the new name. And also during this time, it's important to note that there are some less exciting things that need to be done. So there were many legal, IT, and finance processes ongoing that also had to be considered during this. So there were lots of moving parts, but I would say this by far was the most fun part to execute. And now you can see the final point here, post-launch. This is the phase that we're in right now. So we're preparing right now, or we're finalizing what our plans are for the launch of a year-long brand awareness campaign. This will go live in January. We are really excited about it. We've put a lot of time and thought and energy and love into this campaign. And we're putting the finishing touches to it right now. So I'm really excited to finally see that come to life. I'm not going to spoil it, mainly because Anna and Christina also don't know anything about it. So I don't want to spoil the surprise. But if you're interested, try to check out our channels from the middle of January, and you can see what we've been working on. We also are putting the finishing touches right now to a thought leadership media campaign, and that should complement all of our brand activity. We're developing a digital and events strategy to build engagement and connection with internal and external stakeholders. So there is a lot of things happening and a lot ongoing since the launch of our brand in the summer. So this is an extremely simplified timeline of our rebrand to Nadara on one page. So do you want to see how it looked in reality? Because I can show you. These are very busy slides, but I really hope that it gives you a bit of a flavour as to how these things have come to life. So you can see on the bottom right, we have our beautiful colour palette, which, as I mentioned, it most definitely leans into the power of nature, which comes through our purpose. We do things with nature and in tandem with nature, not at the expense of nature. So we've tried to lean into the nature part in our colour palette. On the top left, you can see that this is our eco-friendly web page. So it emits much less carbon than your average website that has got lots of videos and pictures up front. So we brought our brand to life in as eco-friendly a way as possible. In the middle here, you can see our graphic language, these circles that you can see on the bottom posters here that we use within our offices. This is our graphic language brought to life, and this is the circular nature of what we do. Everything should be, circular economy. It should be thinking about, the rotation of the blade of a wind turbine, sort of everything brought to life in this circular nature. Here we've got a bit more of a sort of a real life look at what this looks like. So on the bottom right, this was a snapshot of the Olympic Games that we held in September last year for all of our colleagues. We put on lots of different sports, and you can see that we gifted everyone a lovely t-shirt to help them to bring that to life during some of our activities. You can see our office spaces have been rebranded with a lot of our visual identity here. And on the bottom left, this is my favorite one because we created some temporary tattoos for our brand launch event, and our colleagues were, sticking tattoos to themselves and on their heads while getting into the spirit of our new brand identity. And of course, the biggest picture here on the left is of our Nadara cupcakes, because who doesn't like a cupcake? But all of these lovely pictures on the right, these are taken from our brand launch events in Portugal, in Italy, in Edinburgh, I think we have here. But this is, I just love looking at these pictures because for me, it just brings things to life a bit more and shows how a bit of celebration can really help to connect employees. And actually, we've got a board member in there as well. And he looks like he's having a great time. So it really helps to engage employees and staff alike. And I'll skip past this one. This is just a little snapshot of how we have brought these things to our different social channels too. But the next part is hopefully the more interesting and important part for you. And that's about the lessons that we've learned along the way and the things that for me are still, super important. So what did we learn? I'll take part 1 and 2 here together because I think they're both very much interlinked. But if you start with the creative before setting your brand strategy and foundation, the brand can appear confused, it can appear misaligned. I'm sure we've all experienced or seen brands that really it's unclear to us what they're doing, what they stand for, or how it all fits together. So this for me is super important. In our experience at Nadara, we were under a lot of pressure to deliver these brand milestones in a relatively short time scale. You can see that we spent 6 months developing and delivering this brand, which is really not a long time at all. But we still prioritize taking the time to do the culture assessment and to do the full brand, market and competitor analysis up front. It would have been really easy to cut this short in favor of progress and, just getting things done. And not only that, work like this is an investment, both in time, but also in money. But this phase really set up our project in a strong way. And every consideration, every decision that we had to make was linked back to these research findings and the brand strategy. So really, if there is one takeaway that I can give you from this, invest in the time to really start off with a strong strategic view. So part 3 here about collaboration, this is probably a lesson for life too, that collaboration is key. But for us in this program, it was extremely important. Given that we were in the midst of bringing 2 companies together anyway, that was a really challenging process. But firstly, using collaboration between both legacy companies is essential. We want to make sure that each legacy company had a voice and it wasn't being led by one company, and the thoughts and feelings and desires of the other company were left behind. But even deeper than that, having a really strong core working group involving people internally from legal, from finance, from strategy, sustainability and HR it means that we could bring insights into the project the whole way through the project and use that core group as a sounding board. And really that was extremely useful for us to be able to, you know, ensure that this brand was one that would work for everyone. And then finally, selecting the right brand partner is key, because they've got to just fully understand what your brief is, what your desire is, and you know, finding the right partner can't be understated. Something that we've learned for next time is to start the collaborative elements even earlier and with a wider pool of stakeholders, because to me, it was already valuable what we developed. But actually, I think, you know, by bringing more partners into this at an earlier stage, we could have improved even further. Being authentic and trustworthy is hugely important to our brand and its positioning. If you look at all of our sort of brand research and how we have gotten from the research part to the positioning, you'll see that, you know, authenticity, trust is part and parcel of everything that we're doing. So we always try to stay true to the brand. But we also need to recognize that we're in an ever-changing landscape. Renewables is constantly moving, growing, changing. And so there has to be some flexibility. So for us, keeping an open mind during this process was really, really important. While we continually referred back to what we know about Nadara and what we are, you know, unwilling to compromise on. And in order to get your new brand into the hearts and minds of stakeholders, consistency is key. We have to be consistent, from the visuals to the messaging, the tone of voice, how the brand shows up to its audience. There's absolutely space for flexibility, but to be memorable, you have to be consistent. So point 4 there is very much about balance. And then number 5, you know, is about communication. We wanted to avoid having bottlenecks during our really, really ambitious timeline. So we committed upfront to a really open approach to communication. We had several pre-arranged touch points with our leadership to present different milestones and to sign off the latest milestones. And similarly, we had already pre-scheduled appointments with the board at board meetings to seek approval on some of the key decisions that had to be made. And it was also really important to us that we drip fed announcements. So we didn't save them all up to deliver in the summer at the end and keep everything quiet until then. First we announced the purpose, the values, and the behaviours as soon as they were defined, really, and agreed. Then when the name was decided, that was communicated to the entire business. And then we celebrated the launch of the entire brand together a couple of months later. Now that sort of model doesn't suit everyone, but for a company going through the uncertainty of a merger, this open approach to communications really helped us to be transparent and avoid 9 months of silence at a time where people were already, you know, feeling a bit under pressure and concerned. So for us, setting the boundaries and the clarity around how to communicate and how to be transparent through the process was super important. And then point 6 here, in my team, we generally try to aim for a culture of continuous improvement, even if that's just a 1% improvement or just trying to, you know, test something different. The brand project was no different, and we sought feedback throughout. But now we're in a post-launch phase. Excuse me, we're preparing for the brand campaign launch in January, and we've really got a clear focus on how we measure our performance. And we want to take the time to pause and reflect on the insights that we draw from these data. This can be invaluable in everything you do, but particularly during this brand execution and awareness phase, this is going to be extremely important for us. And finally, this is my favorite one, and this is why it has a slide all to itself. But I'd like to encourage everyone to dare to be different. Don't be scared to be bold. You know, if you think about the psychology of humans, people don't like change. Most people don't like change, and they resist it at any cost. And sometimes it is really difficult when there's strong views, maybe from business leadership, they are really tied to the existing brand. But we are all brand professionals. We're communicators, we are marketers. We have done our research. We sought insights from all of the right people, and we've built a really strong brand that aligns with our strategy. So why shouldn't we be bold? Why shouldn't we step out of the shadows and differentiate ourselves from our competitors or our peers? So what I want to say to you is, try something different. You might surprise yourself, and you might also surprise the leadership, who are generally resistant to change. So I just want to leave you with one final note, because I also recognise we need to leave some time for any questions or things that we need to cover. But rebranding is all about aligning identity with purpose and values while staying audience focused. As I mentioned at the beginning, the Nadara story that I've shared with you today in this short 30-minute slot here, it's a story of transformation. It's a story of creativity and of lessons learned. And that, for me, is true of all of the work that we do. So I don't know all of your personal, your profiles, your education, your career, but we all work in communication. We work in marketing and brand, and these elements have the power to shape perceptions and really create lasting impact. So if I can leave you with one piece of advice, it would be to encourage you to stay curious, to stay creative, and just always make time for learning, no matter how junior or how senior you are in your career. And that's something that I very much champion and aim to continue in my own career. So with that said, thank you very much. I think I've talked for long enough.
Thank you very much to you, Joe. I hear what you said, and with Joinrs we had a rebranding last year. I shared your same values. Congratulations for the process. Congratulations also for how you share your values, how you share the process, how you share your strategy. And so really interesting.
Thank you. And it's very hard to condense all of that work into just a few slides in 30 minutes. So I'm more than happy to dig into anything else in detail if there
I
are
understand.
But
you manage.
Well, yes, I did.
Sylvia was asking if it is possible to have the slides on these arguments.
No problem. Yes, happy to share.
Thank you. And Christina, Anna, if you want, you can share the slide via email to Stefania or Gaia, and they share the slide to the community. We have some questions, Joe. Christina, Anna, I don't know if you want to read now the question because they are connected to the presentation.
Yes, we can go ahead. Yes, Giuseppe, if you want to read them so that we can start replying. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Fabio have a question about flexibility, and he asks, which are the channels where you need to be more strict with the identity and where you can be more flexible, in your opinion, Joe?
It's a good question, and it's very much an opinion, and I'm sure everyone will have a different take on this. For me, it's more important to be consistent when you are just starting out with a new brand. It takes a long time to build brand awareness with different stakeholders. So, for example, when we are talking to communities who have known us as Falck Renewables for 15 years, and we are now trying to bring them on board with the Nadara brand and get them to understand and relate to us as Nadara, that is critical. I would say digital channels where we bring to life our brand to our key audiences, it's really important to be more strict there, because as I mentioned, being consistent, showing up in the same way with a really strong tone of voice and a really strong visual identity, people have to see the same thing several times before they start to make a connection there. So externally, in these key channels, super important. So LinkedIn, for example, this is where it's our primary social media channel. that is absolutely key, that we ensure that our brand is showing up consistently. What I would say is that when we could be more flexible are definitely the internal channels, because we also have to recognize that we are trying to empower 1,000 employees to advocate for our brand and to help us to bring our brand to life. And they are also learning. You know, we are all on a learning curve of how to adopt a new brand, how to help to let it show up. So we have a bit more flexibility and a bit more creativity and fun, should I say, with our brand internally. And that helps people to connect internally to our brand when they can see we use it in a fun way.
Fabio said thank you, and he adds, but on social media you need to stick with the agency templates, or you can evolve with something a bit different and more creative.
Yeah, so I would say that we during the brand process we developed brand guidelines, and these are the overarching rules that must be adhered to for everyone, for us, for people in the company, for design agencies that we use along the way. It doesn't matter who, but these are things that, you know, we do not compromise on. So we don't create you know, an Nadara logo with pink spots on it, for example. That is against our brand guidelines, and you will see that nowhere. However, we have brought our brand guidelines to our brand agency, and we have together worked on how we develop that into a full brand campaign. And with that, we are a bit more flexible. So it's all about interpretation. We are still not using a Nadara logo with pink dots on it, but we are taking that as a baseline, and we are bringing a bit of flexibility here to develop something new. So I don't believe in defining templates and sticking to them for 10 years. I think that becomes dull and boring very quickly. So there always has to be evolution and creativity while you still stick to these, you know, high level rules from the brand guidelines.
Perfect. Thank you. And I have a question for you, Joe. Maybe you said this. I was focused in that moment. I don't know. But which are the roles that are part of your team, and so which role are involved in this process?
Okay, so my team is made up of 8 really talented individuals who are based across Europe and who have very different backgrounds. Under my responsibility is internal communication, which, of course, during a merger process that we have been going through for 18 months, that is extremely key, extremely important. So internal communications, all external communications, that includes PR, media opportunities, that kind of thing. Brand is also now under my responsibility. So we look after all elements of brand, from creating the brand touch points, all the way through to, you know, brand campaigns, keeping a consistent brand. Digital communication or digital marketing, as you may look at it, that is also under my responsibility with one of my team members. And then finally, events and sponsorships. So we do quite a lot of internal and external events where we go out there to the market and to see our stakeholders. But one of the most important things for me is that even though we define these roles fairly distinctly, we all work so closely together, because in marketing, brand communications, there is always an overlap. Nothing ever sits in its own way without talking to anyone else. So we work extremely collaboratively, and so we all have, you know, we have our hands on all parts of the job at some point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cristina, Anna, if you want to add something about Nadara in general, so we talk also about job opportunities.
Yes, sure. Maybe I can add something about what Joe has just said. So we are really cohesive also as HR and comms team. We are working on a really huge project for next year. So it's going to be a real challenge. But what I would like to stress here is the cohesiveness of the teams, because we work really well together and we have something really great ahead. So yes, this is something I really care about. And for our job opportunities, of course, if you want to have a look at our career site, maybe I just drop in the link for you. We update the positions every day. So if you have a look today and tomorrow, maybe you'll see something different, because we are like in a really hectic period with many things going on. So this, of course, reflects also in our job opportunities. You'll see, of course, internship opportunities, not just in Italy, but also abroad, if you are interested. And of course, even also senior positions. Just give me a second, and maybe I can...
I just
okay,
sent
Anna.
it.
Grazie. Okay, great. Maybe if you have questions on this, Anna and I can answer.
In the chat, Christina, I just added also the link on your Joinrs profile with some job opportunities. For example, I was seeing a developer intern and also wind engineering trainee and so on. So
Yes.
they have also the possibility to apply for text with that link.
Thank you, Giuseppe.
If I can add a small point, and maybe my colleagues in HR will not be happy about this comment, but in my experience in my career, if you do not ask for something, then you cannot get it. So I don't know if this is also something you say in Italy, but in the UK, if you don't ask, you don't get. So twice I have received a job offer and gone to work for a company where I have proactively reached out to the company, even though there were no job positions open. And so it's always worked well for me to position myself up front. So another piece of advice, if you don't see something in particular there is no harm in reaching out.
I totally agree with Joe. That's a really good piece of advice. Maybe you can also add us on LinkedIn so that we can get in touch for future opportunities.
So I wait for other questions. Isabel, Silvia, Cristina, you have participated more in an active way. If you have any questions, any doubts, some curiosities, feel free to open your microphone. And don't be shy.
I have a question.
Hi, Silvia. Yes.
I have had a thesis of Gestalt theory and brand identity, and for me it's very important. Less is more, but my question is it's the most important some Gestalt theory in a brand identity. Brand identity. Sorry, my second language is German, and so it's very difficult to speak in English. I understand, but it's very difficult for me to explain. But it's very important to united Gestalt theory with brand identity. It's very important, or not so important in a brand communication?
Sorry, I didn't get the first part. So aligning the brand identity with...
Silvia, se vuoi, dilla pure in italiano.
Ok, grazie. Io ho fatto una tesi sulla teoria della Gestalt nella brand identity. È realmente così importante l'utilizzo di alcune regole nella comunicazione del brand, quindi in tutto quello che è spiegato, o possiamo anche tralasciare alcuni aspetti?
Okay, so Joe, follow the rules when you create a brand strategy. It's really so crucial, or we can also choose to not to follow these rules in some moments.
When you're creating the brand strategy at the beginning,
Yeah,
like the theory of brand and these types of things. So we partnered with a really
so
strong brand
we
agency.
should be so strict, or we have also the possibility to be more flexible in some times.
Honestly, I think it depends on the company. It depends on the appetite that the different stakeholders have in being more creative and being open-minded to these things. I would say that, you know, we partnered with a really strong brand agency or brand partner to ensure that we followed all the right steps and we considered all of the right things that have to be considered. We didn't want to miss something and launch a brand that we think, you know, we should have done this differently. So they kept us on the right path. But the reason that they were the right partner was because they also were not afraid to test the boundaries and to propose some really crazy ideas to us, because they knew that we were open to doing something a bit different. So, you know, you can see our brand. We didn't end up going crazy with our brand, but it's certainly very different to what we've done before. So I would say that, you know, the rules are there to be broken, okay? And lots of brands did not get to where they are now by just following the rules. But you have to make sure that it is clear what the appetite of your brand, your company is, to be able to push those boundaries. Does that answer the question?
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
So we can follow the rules, but sometimes if we want, we can change. And
Well, I think so.
we
Yeah.
can follow our mind, our ideas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's knowing what is important to you and what is important to your leadership and your owners, your investors. If you go too far, then, you know, you can make some mistakes that you can't take back. So it's understanding your environment first off, I think, is super important.
Perfect. Okay, if we have not any other questions, we can say another thanks to Joe. Okay, perfect. Sylvia said thanks. Thanks for your question, Sylvia. Joe, Anna have a question. Thank you, Joe, for all the valuable advice and knowledge shared with us today. Thank you, Anna and Christina, for introducing us Nadarev, and thank you, Giuseppe, and Joinrs for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you to Anna for having participated in this live. Thank you so much for also to Vittoria. Thank you for your comments. Joe, Christina, Anna, it has been a pleasure to have you here today, and so I hope it will be another opportunity to discover how this strategy could explain in the future. And Joe, thank you for your presentation. Christina, Anna, thank you for having shared with us Nadara values and Nadara opportunities.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your
Thank
participation.
you.
Ciao.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye,
Ciao.
girls. See you.
Bye.